Okay, back to the dinam of brachas. So it says in Allah like this: you have to be very careful not to mention Hashem's name in vain. What happens if somebody says Baruch Atah Hashem and they realize they shouldn't be making the bracha? So there's a pasuk in Tehillim that says Baruch Atah Hashem lamdeini chukecha in Parakuf Yates. So therefore it says that if somebody said Baruch Atah Hashem and they realize they shouldn't be making a bracha, they say lamdeini chukecha, because at least they're saying the pasuk from Tehillim, so it's not a bracha in vain. Even then, the Alter Rebbe says you should still say Baruch Shem Kved Malchutza Leilam Void, because the halacha is like this: if somebody makes a bracha in vain, halachically you say afterwards Baruch Shem Kved Malchutza Leilam Void. Well, what's the purpose of that? It's very simple. A bracha in vain is insulting God. You're saying like, it's not important. You just make His name in vain. So when you say Baruch Shem Kved Mal, you're praising Hashem. So that makes up, the praise of Baruch Shem makes up for the insult that you did by saying a bracha in vain. Now, if somebody says Baruch Atah Hashem Elokei, so then you saw there's a pasuk that says Okay Yisrael Avinu Me'elam Adelam, which is also a pasuk. So then you do that to try to make up that it shouldn't be a problem. Okay. Now, what happens if somebody is in doubt if he said a bracha or not? So the only bracha that you repeat would be benching, Bechat Hamazon, if you were full, because that's biblical. All the other brachas was instituted by Anshe Knesset, Sagadela, Ezra, those people. So because it's rabbinic and it's a question of saying Hashem's name in vain, because you don't remember if you made the bracha. So if you're going to say the bracha, it might be in vain. So therefore you don't say the bracha. Another din is like this. The Gemara says a person needs to... There was a time, the Gemara says, in the time of David HaMelech, there was an epidemic. 100 people were dying a day. 100 people died every day. So David HaMelech asked a question from above, what's going on? So they said, if you institute that the Jews should say 100 brachas a day, or get rid of the epidemic. So David HaMelech instituted 100 brachas a day, and he based it on the pasuk, Noma Gever Hukam Oil. Oil is Ayin Lamed, which equals 70 and 30, which is 100. And then it also says in Chumash, Va'ata Yisrael Ma Hashem Elokecha Shel Mimach. What does God want from you? The Gemara says, don't read it Ma what, read it Meya. Va'ata Yisrael Meya Hashem Elokecha Shel Mimach. Hashem wants you to have 100 brachas. Okay. What?
Something brachas l'chokil, except for Birchas Hamazon. So without you mention.
But Birchas Hamazon only if you're full, then it's biblical.
Okay, so
What?
if you're not full.
A person was full and they don't remember if they bench. So the din is they have to bench again.
All the brachas or only the first one?
All the brachas.
The first one only the one all brachas, right?
No. They're all minatayda. They're all Birchas Hamazon minatayda. Okay, so now like this. During the week, we don't have a problem with 100 brachas. Why? Because number one, you have brachas in the morning that you say, it's like, I don't know, 18, whatever it is. Then you have the Amidah. The Amidah is 19 brachas, and you say it 3 times a day, right? So 3 times 19 is 57. So you already have 57. Plus the morning brachas. Plus the brachas in the middle of davening. Plus, you get 100 pretty easily. The problem is Shabbos. Because Shabbos, the Amidah has only 7 brachas. So yes, we have Musaf, but it's only 4 times 7, or 7 times 4. It's only 28. During the week, the Amidah is 57 brachas. Shabbat, even with Musaf, it's only 28. So you're missing like 30... You're missing some bunch of brachas. So therefore it says in halacha like this. Therefore Shabbos you should eat more to make more brachas. Okay, you bench a few times extra. But it says another interesting thing in halacha. That when they read the Torah, if you listen to the bracha before and after, that the person gets the aliyah says, and you answer Amen, it's counted as if you said the bracha. So there's 7 aliyahs plus maftir. So that's 8 times 2 is 16 brachas, plus the brachas of the haftorah. So eventually you also get 100. So a person should be careful to say 100 brachas every day. Okay, next is like this. What happens if you hear a bracha from somebody? What?
Can you explain the correlation between why they were dying and why the brachas are going to make up for it?
It doesn't say they were dying because they didn't. The 100 brachas took away the epidemic. There was an epidemic for whatever reason there was. I've never seen one. No, it's automatic. The fact that he's getting an aliyah, so automatically it's like the chazan. You think the chazan always thinks he's mites everybody. The bottom line, if he's chazan, automatically it means that he's doing it for the community. So the guy gets called up to the Torah, it says in Allah, and you can automatically assume, by you listening and answering Amen, that you get that bracha properly. Okay. Now, next thing is, when somebody says a bracha that you hear. So when they say Baruch Atah Hashem, you're supposed to say Baruch Hu Baruch Shmo. Okay? But that's only in a place where you're allowed to talk. If you're not allowed to talk, then you don't say Baruch Hu Baruch Shmo. Amen, sometimes you say even in a place where you're not allowed to talk. But Baruch Hu Baruch Shmo is only said in a place where you're allowed to talk. Okay? Then you could say Baruch Hu Baruch Shmo. Now when a person finishes the bracha, then you say Amen. Now the Gemara says, Gadol ha'eina Amen yaisim min ha'meveirach. The one that says Amen is greater than the one that said the bracha. So what's the explanation of that? The simple explanation of that is because like when you make a motion and you second the motion, you validate it, it makes it stronger. The guy says, Baruch Atah Hashem. Yeah, Hashem is blessed. So you say, Amen, you're validating it. So that's stronger than the actual one that makes the bracha. That's the simple meaning. But Shulchan Aruch also says another concept. Hashem's name is written Yud Kei Vav Kei. Correct? Yud Kei Vav Kei. But we don't pronounce it Yud Kei Vav Kei. We pronounce it Adnai. Right? Adnai is the way we pronounce it. So, when a guy says a bracha, he doesn't say Yud Kei Vav Kei. He just says Adnai. Now, Adnai, Aleph Daled Nun Yud equals 65. Yud Kei Vav Kei equals 26. 26 and 65 is 91. Okay? But you read it, it's written Yud Kei Vav Kei, but you're pronouncing it Adnai. So you're only saying, the one that makes the bracha is only saying Adnai. Amen equals 91. So when somebody says Amen, they have both Adnai and Yud Kei Vav Kei. They have the 65 and the 26. So that's the reason this brought on Shulchan Aruch, by the way. That why the one that answers Amen is greater than the one that makes the bracha, because the one that makes the bracha only says the name Adnai. And the one that says Amen has Adnai and Yud Kei Vav Kei, so they're greater. Okay, so then you hear a bracha, you have to answer Amen. What does Amen mean? Number one, it's true. I believe in it. All those things. Huh? It stands for Kel Melech Nema. Once amongst many other acronyms. But now the question is like this. When you hear somebody make a bracha, you're allowed to answer Amen. What happens if you hear it through the telephone? You're talking to somebody on the phone and all of a sudden they make a bracha. Are you allowed to answer Amen? Or for that matter, none, two things. Do you have to answer Amen? Or are you allowed to answer Amen? That's the two points. Do you have to, or are you allowed to? There's all this discussion in Poskim about this. The bottom line is like this. If you hear the bracha, and let me explain the proof of it, is from a Gemara. The Gemara says, in Alexandria, Egypt, there was a very, very big shul. A very famous shul, Beis HaKnesset Shel Alexandria. It was Alexandria, Egypt. And that shul was so big, they didn't have good acoustics. So they didn't hear the chazan. The chazan was standing in the front, and the people in the back was too big to hear, not because they were talking. They just couldn't hear the chazan. So the Gemara says there were people in the middle of the shul with flags. And when the chazan finished the bracha, let's say Amen was the green flag, yeah? So they would hold up the green flag, and the people in the back of the shul would say Amen. It was a red flag, it was another whatever, But the Gemara says clearly that even though the people didn't hear the bracha, the fact that the bracha was said, and you know when the bracha was finished, so then you're allowed to answer Amen.
Well, that was my question.
What?
How can you say Amen on a bracha you didn't hear?
But the fact is, the guy finished the bracha. That's the proof from that shul in Alexandria, Egypt. The people in the back didn't hear the bracha, but they knew he finished the bracha by picking up the flag. So therefore you see from there that you would be allowed to answer Amen even in that way. Okay.